over 6 decades, India honored the Indus Waters Treaty through wars, through terror attacks, through every provocation. But April 2025, after yet another terror attack, India puts the treaty in abeyance. Why? Because there is only so much patience in the world and India's was running on empty. Let's take a deep dive into the Indus Waters Treaty. The Indus water system comprises the main Indus River, Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Abeyance and Satluj. The basin is mainly shared by India and Pakistan, with a small share for China and Afghanistan. The Indus water system begins from a glacier near Bukharchu in the Kailash mountain range, close to Lake Mansarovar on the Tibetan plateau. From its source, the river flows northwest, entering India at Demchok in Ladakh, where it traverses the regions of Ladakh and Jammu and Kashmir. After passing through these Indian territories, the Indus enters Pakistan and then descends into the plains of Punjab and Sindh. Along its course in Pakistan, the river receives major tributaries, supporting vast agricultural and population centers. Ultimately, the Indus River empties into the Arabian Sea near Karachi. Ravi, Abeyance and Satluj rivers flow from Himachal Pradesh and Punjab and enters Pakistan's Punjab. Jhelum flows from Jammu and Kashmir to Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and then into Pakistan. Chenab flows from Himachal and then enters Jammu and then into Pakistan's Punjab. The Indus Waters Treaty was signed in 1960 to resolve disputes between India and Pakistan over the sharing of the Indus River waters, which intensified after the 1947 partition. The partition left India controlling the headwaters and Pakistan dependent on downstream flows. When the standstill agreement on 1st of April 1948 ended, India cut off canal supplies to Pakistan. It restored the supply only after an interim inter-dominion accord on 4th of May 1948. But the accusations continued, with Pakistan alleging water cuts in 1951. Pakistan escalated the water issue to the United Nations in 1951, blaming India for interrupting water supply. At this point, World Bank stepped in and proposed a water sharing formula in 1954. As negotiations between the two countries repeatedly stalled over competing claims and fears of economic ruin, especially in Pakistan's agricultural heartland, after years of negotiations, the treaty was signed in 1960 to provide a clear, cooperative framework. Brokered by the World Bank, the Indus Waters Treaty was signed in 1960 in Karachi by the Indian Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru and Pakistani President Ayub Khan. Under the Indus Waters Treaty, India signed away 80% of the Indus River system's waters to Pakistan. The rivers originate in India, but the lion's share flows to a neighbor who seems far more interested in sending us cross-border terrorists than thank you notes. India gets unrestricted use of the three eastern rivers, Ravi, Abeyance and Satluj. On the other hand, Pakistan gets the three western rivers, Indus, Jhelum and Chenab. Under this treaty, waters of eastern rivers averaging around 33 million acre-feet were allocated to India, the upper riparian country. The waters of western rivers averaging to around 135 million acre-feet were allocated to Pakistan for all purposes, including irrigation, drinking water and hydropower. And these rivers are the lifeline for Pakistan's agriculture, cities and economy. But India has also been given the right on the western rivers for irrigation and to generate hydroelectricity through run-of-the-river projects. After the end of the transition period, as was mentioned in the Indus Waters Treaty, Pakistan no longer has any claim or right to releases by India of any of the waters of the eastern rivers. The treaty also included setting up a permanent Indus Commission, a bilateral body that consists of officials known as Indus Commissioners from both countries and is tasked with implementing and managing the provisions of the treaty. The Commission serves as the primary channel for cooperation, information exchange and conflict resolution regarding the use and development of the Indus River system. Among the major dams on the eastern rivers are Bhakra Dam on Sutlej River in Himachal Pradesh, one of India's largest multi-purpose dams, crucial for irrigation and hydropower. Pong Dam on Beas River in Himachal Pradesh is another project used for major storage and hydroelectricity. On the western rivers, India has Salal Dam on Chenab River in Jammu and Kashmir, a run-of-the-river hydroelectric project. Others include 850 megawatt Ratle hydroelectric project on Chenab in Jammu and Kashmir and 330 megawatt Kishanganga hydroelectric project on the tributary of Jhelum in Kashmir. On the western side, projects like Ratle and Kishanganga have been flashpoints, not because they break the treaty, but because apparently Pakistan prefers its water undisturbed and does not want India to generate a few megawatts. Pakistan had protested over the project, saying that it will disrupt its water supplies. In 2015, Pakistan requested the appointment of a neutral expert to address its concerns over the two hydropower projects, but it backtracked from its position in 2016 and called for a court of arbitration instead. In a big win for India, on 20th of January 2025, neutral expert Michel Lino, appointed under the Indus Waters Treaty, ruled that he is competent to decide on the issues regarding the Kishanganga and Ratle hydroelectric projects. India on 23rd of April 2025, after the deadly terror attack in Pahalgam, put the treaty in abeyance. What does this mean? Well, in simple language, no more water flow data to Pakistan, no more design restrictions on Indian projects. India can now create storage on western rivers, flush reservoirs, and yes, even stop those inspection tours by Pakistani officials. While India has not completely stopped the flow of western rivers' waters, it has already closed all the gates of the Bagdihar Dam on the Chenab and is planning similar regulatory actions at the Kishanganga Dam on the Jhelum. The World Bank, once the treaty's referee, is now just a spectator. With the treaty in abeyance, its powers are, well, abeyant. The World Bank President Ajay Banga has recently said, and I'm quoting him, "We have no role to play beyond a facilitator." Now let's look at the Tulbul navigation project. India wanted to build a navigation lock at Vular Lake in Kashmir to keep Jhelum navigable in winters. Pakistan cried storage facility, said it violated the treaty, and project was mothballed. The facts: the barrage would regulate outflow, not store water. Non-consumptive use like navigation is allowed. But why would Pakistan let facts get in the way? Maybe it's time to dust off those blueprints and restart Tulbul, a project which was halted in 1987. And now, Pakistan has written a letter to India urging it to reconsider the decision on the Indus Waters Treaty. Apparently, when the taps might turn off, even the loudest critics find new respect for dialogue and cooperation. Who knew? Pakistan's Ministry of Water Resources said that suspending the treaty would trigger a crisis in the country. India, on the other hand, has remained firm, with Prime Minister Narendra Modi sending a clear message to Islamabad that water and blood cannot flow together, and any dialogue will be contingent on Pakistan ending its support for cross-border terrorism.
पानी और खून भी एक साथ नहीं बह सकता.
So what should India do next? Simple. Build more storage on the western rivers, modernize existing dams for better flood control and power generation. Why? Because water is security, and after 60 years of one-sided generosity, it's time India put its own interests first. And if India keeps the taps off, Pakistan faces drought, crop failures and urban water crisis. For a country that's used to blaming India for every drop, that's a scary prospect. Maybe, just maybe it's time for some real cooperation and not just complaints. For over 60 years, India gave more than it got. It's time for fairness, not favors. The Indus Waters Treaty was never about aggression. But it's time now for a new deal. One that forces Pakistan to stop its state-sponsored terrorism against India.